We see more professors, more academic staff, more visitors coming into the auditorium. Law students, please do the university the honor of moving to the upper seats, please, so we can create room for the senior persons who are coming into the auditorium. Thank you very much. Not all of you, please. Maybe the first row of students on both sides, please. Yes, ushers, please. The first row. The others remain on your seats. But the first row of students, ushers, officers, and the procession is usually led into the arena by the Deputy Registrar of Senate Matters, Mr. M.O. the Vice Chancellors of the procession. of academic programs and institutes, professors emeriti, other esteemed professors and erudite scholars here present, Your Excellencies, top government functionaries, Your Royal Highnesses, greatest UNIBEN staff and students, invited guests, gentlemen of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Today is another very special day, and I'll tell you why. For some time now, there will appear to be a kind of feminism conspiracy of some sort, especially because there is a female vice-chancellor at the helm. Without any fear of contradiction, we have witnessed a succession of female professors delivering their inaugural lectures. In at least the last 4 exercises. There is also the likelihood, and there are indications, that the next lecturer, and the next, and the next, and the next are females. Well, the men need to take this challenge seriously, because it will appear that there is a revolution in the complete shattering of the glass ceiling. On that note, my Lord, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the 264th in the inaugural lecture series of the great University of Benin. When the registrar of the university stands before you, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce the Vice-Chancellor and the Vice-Chancellor's procession, the host dean for today will not be sitting on the statutory seat of the Dean of Law. That is because that dean, the very delectable, the amiable, the vivacious, the very beautiful, and the very brilliant Dean of Law, is also the inaugural lecturer for today. I'm talking about Professor Violet Ormond. Her topic: green conflicts in Nigeria, taking the gender vulnerability clock with a timed sword of justice. May I now invite the registrar, Mr. Ademola Bomola, to introduce the Vice-Chancellor and the Vice-Chancellor's procession. Mr. Registrar.
Madam Vice Chancellor, kindly allow me to abide by the existing protocol. It is my singular honor and privilege to present to us our most dynamic, unique, beautiful, elegant, scholarly, reputable, #1 citizen of campus, the amiable leader, Committee of Vice Chancellors of Nigerian Federal Universities, the Vice President, Association of African Universities, Professor Martinez Salami. Let me inform you that this program is being built live, and some people are following us, including the Vice Chancellor herself, even though she's not here physically, but she's very much with us. So let's give her a round of applause again. Well, the PRO has really talked so much about the the inaugural lecturer and some other things particularly unique to this event. I would not want to go to the area of female and male conflicts because you cannot win any conflicts that you have with women. So I submit to all the women in the house. It is therefore my singular honor and privilege again to present to us another very unique woman who delivered the 256th inaugural lecture of this university some months back. She is a distinguished woman in medicine, and she is going to preside over this event in her capacity as the acting vice chancellor. And talking about the deputy vice chancellor administration, Professor Mrs. Catherine Obuomani. Thank you, ma'am. Thanks be to God for another man coming up in the area of protocols. The deputy vice chancellor of academics, really a man, Professor Ray Mazalwa. The party will be over now for female-male distribution, so it is my singular privilege to also present to us the deputy vice chancellor in charge of our AK1 campus, where we started this journey of UNIBE from, Professor Oliami Adesina. For a very long time, we've not had this man who is trying to chase money for the University of Benin along with the vice chancellor, but is very much here. He has just come back from India with talisman and all the rest of them to make money. Dr. V.U. Imagwe is the author of this university. And we also have the custodian of our books and academic publications, a distinguished professor, Professor Luke Obasu, University Librarian. We have a man who has been leading the light in the medical field and who has taken the medical sector of this university to a greater height and may be handing over to another very eminent person in no long a time after paying his dues. Professor E. Oviasu is the Provost College of Medical Sciences. The Dean of Postgraduate Studies has also gone to do some very important things along with the Vice Chancellor. He is represented here by the Assistant Dean, Dr. S.A. Aliu. The Dean who is the major focus of the university students. The man who is helping us to pilot the affairs of students on this campus, Professor A.C. Ogodaro, is also here. The theme of today is, as you've been told, cannot sit in that seat to wear the two caps. So she's wearing the cap of the inaugural lecturer. At the same time, another eminent professor of law is holding forth as the dean of law. Incidentally, the immediate past dean of faculty of law, Professor Ine Bedio. Faculty of Arts is attending this program for the second time, Professor S.E. Yuka. Professor F.O. Abreu is the Dean, School of Basic Medical Sciences. Professor F.O. Amorege, Dean, School of Dentistry. And then we have the representative of the Dean Faculty of Education, Dr. Elvis Abola. Dr. P.S. Edemwe is the Dean Faculty of Environmental Sciences. Professor N.J. Orue.
She proceeded to the University of Lagos, where she obtained the Bachelor of Arts degree in History in 1983. Thereafter, she attended the University of Benin, where she obtained Bachelor of Laws LLB degree in 1989, and then Law School at Victoria Island, Lagos in in 1990. She did the mandatory National Youth Service at Federal Polytechnic, Ida, between 1983 and 1984. She obtained her Master of Laws and Doctor of Philosophy (PhD) from the University of Benin in 2000 and 2008, respectively. She joined the services of the University of Benin as a lecturer in 2002 and rose through the ranks to the position of full professor in 2016. Her primary area of research is environmental law. Professor Mrs. Agbogabo has served in several committees and boards within and outside the University of Benin and the Nigerian Bar Association. For example, right now she's the current dean of the Faculty of Law. She's the coordinator postgraduate program, Faculty of Law, University of Benin. That's where she was from 2016 to 2021. Chairman, Faculty of Law Disciplinary Committee, 2021 till date. She's a member of the Nigerian Institute of Legislative and Democratic Studies, which is a member of the postgraduate committee of the Democratic Studies, 2021 till date. She is a collaborator, World Bank, Succession Committee for Postgraduate Policy for University of Benin, 2021 till date. She is a member of the top part-time programs, University of Benin, 2021 till date. Member Association of Law Teachers, the Deans and Directors, and a member of the Board of Trustees Committee, 2021. She's a member of the task team for establishment of the University of Benin Center for Cyber Security Studies, 2021 till date. She was the chairman of the ad hoc committee of inquiry to investigate the case of sexual assault and related matters in 2021. She's a member, advisory council on the prerogative of mercy to the governor of Edo State, 2018. Apart from university committees and so on, she's also she was a solicitor of the Corn Oil Nigerian PLC in 2014. She was a solicitor for the local government area, Edo State, 2008. She was a solicitor of primary education for Edo State, 2008. She has served as external assessor and external examiner to several universities within and outside Nigeria. She has over 72 publications to her name. You can see that our guest lecturer is an accomplished researcher, and she's going to really deal with the subjects today. She has attended several conferences within and outside Nigeria. She has supervised over 80 LLM dissertations and 5 PhD theses. She's the recipient of several awards, including the Vice Chancellor Award for Excellence and Productivity in 2020. Professor Mrs. Agbogabo belongs to several professional bodies and associations, such as member Nigerian Bar Association, member Nigerian Association of Law Teachers, International Federation of Women Lawyers, Editorial Committee of Business Law Journal. She's a member of the Environmental Society, a member Editorial Committee of the Department of Public Law Journal. Professor Mrs. Agbogabo has a passion for solo music, walking and cooking. She's a Christian from the Assemblies of God and is happily married to Professor Ozed Agbogabo, and their marriage is blessed with children. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure now to invite Mrs. Agbogabo, a professor of
Madam Vice Chancellor, Principal Officers of the University of Benin, the Chief Judge of Edo State, we are accompanied by his brothers, senior advocates here present, colleagues, friends, and family. May I crave the indulgence of Madam Vice Chancellor to stand on the protocol that has been established for the purpose of the delivery of this inaugural lecture. The title of my lecture is Green Conflicts in Nigeria, Ticking the General Vulnerability Clock with Time's Sword of Justice. The lecture is dedicated to the three trinities in my life: Deacon Charles Omojende Okosun, my beloved father, who did not spare the rod, his resources and love in raising me. My mother, Deaconess Jane Okosun, my mother in a million, my prayer warrior and counselor, and my beloved husband, Professor O.Z. Aibohaibo, who is my sanity and my steady hand. And to everyone who supports environmental health in Nigeria. The outline of the lecture is as stated. Madam Vice Chancellor, I am deeply honored to be afforded a space on this podium to be delivering my inaugural lecture during your tenure. As already stated, it is the 5th inaugural lecture to be delivered by the Faculty of Law. It is the first inaugural lecture to be delivered by a female law professor. The inaugural lecturer is privileged to be the first female PhD produced by the Faculty of Law. I'm also privileged to be the first elected female dean of the faculty, as well as the only female elected dean in the University of Benin. In the whole University of Benin. It has been impressed on me that this position comes with a lot of expectations. When I was therefore informed that you must deliver your inaugural lecture, I was not given a choice in the matter. And I stand here before you today in obedience to that command. It is my prayer that from this day forth, the inaugural lecture drought in the Faculty of Law will cease, and after me, we will have so many inaugural lecturers that we will lose count. I am not a gender advocate, so to speak. Since this lecture was published, I have had so many calls as to when did you become a gender crusader. Even my husband came to me severally to say, Violet, your area is environmental law. What concerns you with gender? Gender issues are not revolutionary, neither are they a call for arms to female. I am not an advocate that women should be given positions they do not deserve by the mere fact that they are women. All I am asking and craving and using this podium to advocate is that we should be given a level playing field to compete with women. Some expressions have been used in this lecture. And we all know that green is to depict nature, the environment, low carbon and renewable energy. Green conflicts simply refer to disputes arising from the ownership, exploitation, distribution, and utilization of environmental resources, or conflicts that have been induced by climate change or the quest to transit to net zero carbon emission levels. Gender vulnerability is used to refer to any situation that affects or influences the capacity of women to anticipate, adapt, mitigate, be resilient, or recover from environmental stress. While time served of justice simply refers to statutory limitations that have been placed for the commencement of gender offenses. Thankfully, the 8th of March of every year has been designated as the International Day for Women to celebrate women's accomplishments and achievements in politics, culture, and economics. While November 6th has also been designated by the United Nations as International Day for the prevention of exploitation of the environment in war and armed conflict. All these celebrations deem as ensuring that the issues of gender discriminations are reduced considerably, if not completely eradicated. They also seek to draw awareness to the issue of rape weaponization, resource starvation, trafficking in women, as well as other human rights abusive practices. When it comes to the issue of weaponization of rape, what we are simply talking about is using rape as a weapon to subjugate women, oppress them, and make them submissive. It has been used in Rwanda, where HIV-infected men were recruited to rape women as war aggression. In Nigeria as well, we have had weaponization of rape utilized since the Nigerian Civil War in 1967. It came to fore again during the Ogoni resource conflict struggles, and recently it has been used by Boko Haram and ISIS militants. As we all are aware, during the kidnap of the Chibok girls, as well as Zamfara Girls Secondary School kidnapping, issues of weaponization of rape, forced marriages, gender-based violence, and other heinous sexually-based offenses were brought to the fore. You can see the slides there depicting the Chibok girls. When you have to give your lecture within the specified time of 15 minutes, I can assure you you have to do it very quickly. So I'm doing it very quickly. What are the causes of green conflicts in Nigeria? The major causes of green conflict in Nigeria have been compressed into struggle over resource ownership, distribution, access to resources, resource utilization. They have been known to be the major drivers of intercommunal violence. We also have the issues of artisanal and illegal mining of mineral resources, agitation for resource control. We also have the issues of climate change-induced desertification. We are no doubt aware that due to the effects of climate change and the resultant desertification and reduced food security and water security, you have headers pushing further southwards, and this has led to conflict between herders and farmers in southern parts of Nigeria, especially in the Middle Belt area. You can see the slides. We have herders. You can see people running away from the herders and farmers conflict. And in that particular slide, you can see a herder holding an AK-47 gun. What business does a cattle farmer have with carrying guns? Those are part of the issues that are driving conflicts. Other issues are abusive utilization of forest resources, e.g. you have the slash and burn agricultural practice, you have illegal logging, you have air, water, land pollution, as well as deforestation. Struggles over green resources and poor green resource governance also drive green conflicts. We are no doubt aware that the major challenge we have in Nigeria is not the fact that we do not have regulatory laws, it is poor implementation. And because of poor implementation of regulatory laws, poor oversight management over green resources, you have conflicts regularly. Most of these conflicts are unreported. There's no doubt that a healthy ecosystem and properly managed resources is the most effective mode of reducing green conflicts in Nigeria. What are the issues or what are the conditions that make women vulnerable to green conflicts? One of the major issues women have is the traditional role that has been foisted on them by the mere facts of their gender, due to the fact that women are expected to be housekeepers, fetchers of wood, drawers of water, childbearers, subsistence farmers. They are frontliners during most conflicts, and because they are soft targets, you find that during green conflicts, women are kidnapped and taken as hostages. Apart from the disruption of their secular education, like what I've already said, women are used as suicide bombers. They are also the recipients of suicide bombing. They are indoctrinated as well as kidnapped. If you look at those slides, you can see United Nations peace officers watching over women. But the major problem about these peacekeepers is that sometimes the very peacekeepers who are supposed to be watching over these women end up preying on them. Over 50% of women or people who are displaced by Boko Haram have fled to Niger, Cameroon, and other states in Nigeria. Most of these women are escaping from conflict in the northern parts of Nigeria. In the Niger Delta, women are the recipients of militancy. They have to cope with fractured livelihoods arising from poor oil field practices and criminal gangs. Inaugural 2020. Due to this social disorder, from oil resource struggles, you have population flights, among other problems. 70% of the 1.3 million people living in poverty are women, while 40% of the poorest households in Nigeria are headed by women. In spite of the fact that women are the major subsistence farmers, they do not have access to land under most customary law systems. The only way they can have access to land is either through their husbands, their male relatives, or their brothers. The Land Use Act 1978 does not seem to have significantly impacted on the ability of women to own land in Nigeria, as customary law is still mostly prevalent. The vulnerability of women is compounded by the battery they receive from climate change. If you look at most pictures that depict climate change, what you see is women. You are no doubt aware that most women are exposed to financial, physical, and emotional strain, as well as gender objectification. There are increased poverty, social exclusion during conflict make them extremely vulnerable. Even when you have green conflicts, women have to go further and further afield because they need to fend for their families. Most girls have to drop out of school because they need to assist their mothers. They put their lives at risk and are easy targets during gender conflicts. Inaugural 2022. Apart from these exposures, you also have women subjected to reproductive health issues. They are subject to unwanted pregnancies, unwanted babies, abortions, birth defects, post-traumatic stress disorders, and these can be found to be particularly prevalent in internally displaced persons camp. Inaugural 2022. If you look at the slides, you can see most of the faces of people who are escaping from conflict are women. They are the ones carrying loads on their head. They are the ones who have to stand in queue with babies begging for food and other upkeeps. The question is, in the face of all this, where are the men? That question has been answered because the men have told us that they are not available because they are behind the scene praying for the women and wishing them well. If you look at the Lake Chad region, where you have over 30 million people who are dependent on natural resources, they are the typical face of green conflict and women vulnerability exposures. In that region, selling of women and children for food is a common experience. Gender-based violence is also prevalent in that region. In that region, there's nothing like human rights. All that is prevalent is survival. And when it comes to women and gender-based violence, we all know that in most African countries, especially Nigeria, whenever things are not going right, the women have to pay the price. And hitting women, abusing them, starving them is deemed to be a normal way of discipline. You can see the slides, you can see women again. You can also see that woman, even as she looks as if she has to scavenge, she's still clinging to her baby. In the midst of all this, do we have any legal framework to protect women and increasingly shield them from these vulnerabilities during green conflict or from this exposure? Do we have regulations taking into cognizance the issues that women are confronted with? We'll soon find out now. Surprisingly, neither international or domestic laws specifically provide for green conflict-induced resource degradation or gender abuse. In spite of the fact that the United Security Council has 27 draft principles on the protection of the environment during conflict, you also have the UNEP and the Bali guidelines and environmental rule of law established in 2013. Environmental crimes and gender abusive practices have not significantly abated. I'm sure we are all aware of the Sustainable Development Goals, which are supposed to be 17 goals that are supposed to provide the blueprint to ensure we have a better and more prosperous environment. Among these goals, you have specific goals that are gender and climate specific. You have the environmental health goal in goal 3, gender equality in goal 5, green conflict and climate avoidance goals in 12 and 13. In spite of this, has significant inroads been made into the reduction in gender abuses in Nigeria? What is the answer? The answer is no. GBV rules and reigns among us. Apart from that, you also have other instruments, treaties, conventions, declarations, protocols, local legislations and statutes, all dealing with gender protection. I'm going to go through most of these regulations. You have the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which provides that all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and in rights. You have the Convention on the Elimination of all forms of discrimination against women. You have the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. You have the Maputo Protocol to the Charter. You have the United Nations Declaration on the Elimination of Violence Against Women. You have the Vienna Declaration and Program of Action. All these conventions and protocols are targeting the eradication of harmful traditional and customary practices that target women. But the issue is, in spite of all this targeting, very little progress has been made on the issue of gender parity and gender equality. You have the famous Beijing Declaration and Platform of Action in 1995. And most of the time now, when you see any woman advocating to be given an opportunity or be asked to be provided a level playing field to participate in, the woman is targeted Beijing. That's the genesis of the Beijing that most women are called today. The Beijing Declaration and Platform of Action targets violence against women, women and armed conflicts, women and the economy, and human rights of women in general. Do we have domestic legal framework in Nigeria that deals with gender protection? Yes, we do. The Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as amended, specifically provides for gender equality and states that no one must be discriminated against on the basis of sex. You also have Section 19D of the Constitution, which provides the basis upon which all the international declarations, protocols, and covenants have to be made part of our domestic laws. Some of these international treaties that have been ratified by the National Assembly as applicable and are now applicable in the country includes the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, the International Covenant on Social and Cultural Rights, the Covenant Against Torture and other cruel or inhuman, degrading treatment or punishment, the International Convention on the Elimination of all forms of racial discrimination, the Convention on the Elimination of all forms of discrimination against women, as well as the optional protocol on the elimination of all forms of discrimination against women. Then you have the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act 2015. It was enacted by the National Assembly specifically to target issues of gender discrimination. The Act eliminates all forms of violence against persons, whether in private or public life. It also prohibits all forms of violence against persons while providing for maximum protection and punishment for offenders as well as victims' protection. Under the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, the major and thriving form of gender-based violence, that is non-consensual sex, popularly referred to or known as rape, was specifically targeted. You will agree with me that in recent times, rape is becoming part of our daily lives. Children are raped routinely, people are raped in office places, and under the these are behavior that cannot be tolerated and they are prohibited. It's Section 14 specifically provides that emotional, verbal, psychological abuse on any person is not tolerable. It provides for 1 year imprisonment or 200,000 naira fine or both punishment and imprisonment of offenders. We also have the Trafficking in Persons Prohibition, Enforcement and Arbitration Act of 2015. It was passed in 2003, amended in 2005, and then to 2015. It criminalizes human trafficking in any form and provides for offenses ranging from actual trafficking in persons, so counseling, aiding, abetting, procuring of victims, as well as prosecuting the escape of felons. Section 35 equally prohibits airline operators, sea vessels operators, commercial carriers, aiding and abetting, facilitating or promoting trafficking. Sections 357 and 282 of the Criminal Code Code, as well as the Penal Code Act, expressly provide for the prohibition of any form of non-consensual sexual interaction. Although the issue of consent is not specifically provided for in either the Criminal or Penal Code, Section 74 of the British Sexual Offences Act 2003 defines consent as a person agreeing by choice when he has the freedom and capacity to make that choice. Section 75, Sub 2 of the same Act prohibits any form of violence, threats, intimidation that inhibits a person's capacity to be able to make informed consent. You agree with me that the issues of rape is something that is very complex. You can see in the slide, shame, disorientation, psychological trauma experienced by victims. You also have a plethora of cases that time will not allow me to individually explain, all going into the prohibition of non-consensual sexual interaction. You have the case of the King against Williams, the King against Uluboja, Katamaki and the King against Jones, Ahana Fule against the Imperial Medical Center, as well as Clarkson and Keaton. What is common in all of these cases is that without consent, sexual interaction becomes actionable. And the issue of consent remains operational at all times, whether before, during, or after environmental or green conflict. Those are a few of the regulations that clearly target gender protection. We also have regulations that target the environment. Remember, the lecture topic is green conflicts and gender vulnerability. So apart from the gender, we also have the environmental protection regulations. The most comprehensive regulation that targets the environment is the National Environmental Standards and Regulation Enforcement Agency Act, the NESRIA. It seeks to enforce environmental best practices and also ensure that the environment is properly managed and abusive utilization of environmental resources are called to order and punitively sanctioned. NESRIA has 33 regulations, and some of those regulations actively seek to protect specific sections of the environment. Some of these regulations are the National Environmental Desertification Control and Drought Mitigation Regulation, the National Environmental Protection of Endangered Species in International Trade, the National Environmental Soil Erosion and Flood Control Regulation, the National Environmental Coastal and Marine Area Protection Regulation. But the NESRIA is not active in the oil sector. The oil sector is specifically governed by the NOSRA. The slides are self-explanatory. Under NOSRA, which is the National Oil Spill Detection and Response Agency Act, the agency is empowered to establish a viable national operational organization that ensures safe, timely, effective, and appropriate response to air pollution, hazardous and noxious substance emissions in the petroleum sector. In spite of the fact that you have the NESRIA and you have the NOSRIA, those regulations are reactive and not proactive. You find pollution is actively still going on, particularly in the Niger Delta area, and victims of such environmental wrongs largely go uncompensated. If you look at the slide, the Statute of Justice shows Lady Justicia. Interestingly, a female carrying a scale as well as a sword is used to depict justice. In spite of this depiction, the same symbol of justice is restrained from using her sword to strike offenders. And who is responsible for this restraint? And from allowing the justicial sword to descend, it is still the same statutes that have brought these regulations into existence. Most states in Nigeria have limitation laws. And under those limitation laws, actions, whether based on gender abuses or environmental abusive practices, have to be brought within specific time or within specific period. So if you suffer any form of injury during green conflict, if you are going to institute your action in Lagos, you have to bring your action within 3 years. If it's in Edo State, you have suffered any tort arising from the green conflict, your action has to be brought within 6 years. And if you suffer any form of sexual abuse and you are a girl child under the age of 13 years, you have to bring your action within 2 months under the Criminal Code Act. We can see the injustice that lies in this situation. When people are in conflict situations, they are psychologically, physically, and financially traumatized. And prosecuting offenders is definitely the last thing on their minds. So by giving them timeline, you are also giving the sword of justice time within which to act. What you are doing, you are empowering green conflict offenders, because the time sword of justice works against the interest of the victims while it is applauded by offenders, because it is doubtful whether victims of green conflict will have the presence of mind to be able to prosecute offenses within these time limits specified under the various statutes of limitation. For those of us who do not know what statute of limitation is, because we are not lawyers, it means if you do not bring your action within the time specified, you can no longer bring that action. That action is dead and dead forever. In dealing with timeline during conflict, issues of post-conflict traumas, resettlement of victims, ability to investigate gender abuses and environmental wrongs by the agencies that are supposed to be in charge require time, money, and other technical know-how. The ticking of the gender vulnerability clock during green conflicts and the attendant destruction of livelihoods, physical injuries, psychological trauma, and fractured communities are exacerbated by those timed judicial remedies. Other enforcement challenges include the Ministry of Women Affairs, that is the principal agency responsible for management of gender-related issues, and the National Environmental Standards and Regulation Enforcement Agency, that is responsible for enforcement of environmental protection and prosecution of environmental wrongs. They all have different issues and different complaints, ranging from poor funding to issues of inability to properly audit situations, because they do not have the capacity to move from one location to the other, to the poor sensitization of the populace. Many people are not aware that when they suffer such wrongs, they have an avenue for redress. Similarly, in most decision-making processes, women are excluded. Because of this exclusion, issues that particularly relate to women are unable to be brought to the fore. Similarly, we have societal condonation of environmental wrongs. Most of the time when you have victims who have been raped during conflict, the society stigmatizes such victims. And the question usually is, what were you doing there? What did you go to look for there? For you to be there, it means you were looking for something and it serves you right that you bought it. When you think of those kind of things, it dissuades you from pursuing any form of claim. Similarly, I know the Oyo State, Justice Archer is looking at me and wanting to hear what I want to say. I apologize, but I have to say that sometimes when you have issues of gender on the cost list, like domestic abuse and all that, judicial officers will often wonder, can they not just settle this matter so that we can have time to do other serious things? These are issues that can be settled, unless when it relates to issues of underage children's rape, and there's a lot of social media outcry and screaming that this is not fair, this is not just. You really don't have anybody listening, and that alone is sufficient to dissuade anybody that wants to bring such claims. You have issues of corruption of regulatory agencies, and this has largely impeded the prosecution of environmental and gender offenders. You know, during post-conflict, once conflicts are over and there's peace and calm, everybody goes to sleep. In Nigeria, you hardly have post-conflict auditing. Everything is deemed to be fair in war. You also have agencies jostling for power and positions instead of trying to achieve the objectives for which they were established. And apart from that, although you find that issues of women are not taken seriously because most women are able to survive even after conflict. The women by their nature are very resilient. Once conflict is over, they look for the next avenue to take care of their losses and deficits. But in spite of all this, the lecturer thinks some recommendations must be made. And some of the recommendations are women should try as much as possible to have linkages to non-governmental organizations as well as church organizations. They should also learn from the Kenya's Green Belt movement and the India's Chipko movement, where due to constant sensitization, moving around the cities and letting people know about their plight, some of their gender-related issues have been significantly addressed. Am I talking against the men? The answer is no, because men are also victims of green conflict. What I am saying is that women, by their very nature and their traditional expectations, are more vulnerable in times of green conflict. This is even worse because ordinarily they are marginalized, and in times of conflict it gets worse because most women get locked up for long periods of time, and the ones who dare to go out to look for necessaries for their families suffer all sorts of untold hardship and victimization. So we are recommending that statutory limitation or the time sought of justice should be regulated to not run during conflict, but the statute of limitation in times of conflict should start running when the conflict is over. And then there should be proper sensitization of everyone as to the necessity for gender tolerance, because both men and women complement each other. Women cannot live without the men, and the men cannot live without the women, I dare say. Women should also take advantage of peaceful protests and campaigns. I am not an advocate of any form of violence, because you can discuss your issues, analyze your issues, and draw attention to your plight while campaigning peacefully. We should also learn to negotiate during conflict resolution. And then the Constitution of Nigeria specifically provides for affirmative action. As much as possible, we should always try to take advantage of such affirmative action. Most times, when there's provision for gender balancing, even if you have to appoint about 10 or 15 women based on the calculation, 1 or 2 women get appointed, and we are very, very excited about it. So we should start insisting on our position. And then women must learn to migrate from areas of conflict. Once there's any whistle of any form of green conflict, women should start running. At the end of the day, you may ask me, how do the women know what they are running into? It is better to find out than to stay where you are and get exposed and captured. We should also take advantage of improved access to justice by utilizing pro bono services. Most women are not aware of the existence of pro bono services. We should also appeal that most pro bono service provision should specifically target gender issues. And then, women should try to avoid, should as a type of protest, avoid communities where women are not treated as human beings. In other words, if there's any community that is gendered, it's only men that can speak in those communities or contribute to ideas, women should shun such communities. I'm sure by the time such communities are shunned, the men will start looking for them. And then we are also asking for enhanced women empowerment through education, skill acquisition, and capacity building so they can effectively participate in decision-making processes. If you look at most green conflicts, they have been exacerbated by struggle over green resources. So we should have increased transparency in the control, management, and profit sharing of green resource distribution. Madam Vice Chancellor Ma, may I at this junction kindly crave your indulgence to acknowledge some men and women who have contributed to my emergence and nurturing from the girl child to the woman who is humbly standing before you today. First and foremost, I would like to acknowledge the Almighty God, the giver of light and life. I would also like to acknowledge some of my deceased fathers, Professor Ekundayo, Professor John Sebekia, and a few others. I'm grateful to God Almighty that Professor T.O.K. Audu is still here, Professor Ego Chukwu is still here, Professor Victor Omozuwa, Professor Felix Okene, Professor David Izeko. They were all contributory to my successful accomplishment of obtaining a PhD, and they were also contributory to my being effective as a PG coordinator in the faculty. I can see Professor Abumere Anao is here, sitting down in the audience. I acknowledge you, sir, your wife of my literature teacher in the Federal Government Girls College University. Osasari Orubense, Effiong Bob, former council chairman of the University of Benin, under whose tenure I attained my professorial rank. My fathers who comforted and supported me like giant oaks when I lost my beloved father, Deacon Charles Omojodo Kosun, I acknowledge you. Osakaya Obamie, Pastor David and his wife, Auntie Carol, Justice Waka, Babajide Benkakoka and his wife Auntie Jolomi, who I'm sure is watching via Zoom, the immediately past deceased Justice Victor Omage and his wife Auntie Christine. I must tell everyone I'm a child of grace, and I'm fortunate to have been nurtured by a legal community of kind people, without whose tutelage and encouragement I would not be standing tall today. I thank my very first project supervisor, Professor Adebowale Ibidago Adefuye, who later became Nigerian ambassador to Jamaica and United States of America. He taught me how to treat students with kindness and respect. I acknowledge my petroleum lecturer. She's bending down because she does not like the attention shifting to her. But Ma, Professor Yinka Orogbe, my petroleum law lecturer, Attorney General of Edo State, she taught me petroleum law, and she took my class, every single one of us in my class, on an excursion to Escravos, where we Onitsua SAN, my LLM. Who opened his chambers to me when I finished law school. My very dear brother, my Otenoma, my Oteniyario, Omori Ogosin Omoluwa SAN, who is watching us, and is here again represented by his beautiful wife, Iyesogie Omoluwa. I can't thank you enough for being such pillars. Words fail me to describe my depth of gratitude for all you do for my family to this day. My big brother, Igodalo Imadubelo SAN, whose push, please let us applaud him. His push and constant taunt of when are you going to deliver your inaugural lecture contributed to the dawning of this day. I cannot thank you enough for the legal privilege and all your constant encouragement for me to strive to always be the best. Kembozi and his amiable wife are not here. Osayi Uzabiri is not here, but I thank all of them. Justice Amina Ogi, Justice Biobel, Judge Bill, and of course the Chief Judge of Edo State, Justice Joe Isebana Archer. Your faith in me has remained unshaken over the years, and I'm grateful. Even today, in the midst of everything you have to do, you came here to support and encourage me. I'm grateful, my Lord. Justice Daniel Okonowa, Amazon judges who are not here. I can see Justice Igo Brino is here. I thank you very much. My brother, Justice Aziwemi Williams, I cannot see you. Okay, you are there. Please let us applaud him. And Priscilla, my classmate, my friend, and my sister-in-law. I applaud you. Thank you. And of course, the most vocal and the most active of my class of 1989, who was the face of student protection, environmental protection, and everything that has to be protected, Dr. Ogaga Iforobo. Alumni of the great faculty of law, I acknowledge every single one of you, especially my biggie of biggest, Dr. Oluwakemi Adekule, Utman Pinero, SAN, faculty of law. Support, goal setting, and lessons in humility are invaluable. I can see Kunle Utman, the SDP governorship candidate of Lagos State, and a member of NEM. Let us please support him. Thank you so much for taking out time from your campaign to be here. I really appreciate you. Chief Charles Dosoma is not here, but I'm sure he's watching via Zoom, my re-established in-law, and of course, my biggie prince, Richard Ahanologo SAN. Okay, he's over there. I cannot imagine my leadership journey without your support and inspiration. Pascal Women, ever smiling Obeki, Henry Darwin, Archbishop Chibuzo Amocha, Roslyn Izedowe, Chief Henry Omo, and so many other people. I can't even get to say who and who is here. I can see my big brother Peter Ontaigbe. When I first joined the legal profession, I know how you used to inspire me to work and really work hard. Thank you for being here today. The Anglican Communion, I saw the vicar of the St. James's Anglican Church with his priests and priest wives walking in. Wherever you are sitting, I deeply acknowledge and I thank you. All the members of the St. James Anglican Church, I can see you encouraging me to try to be the best. Thank you very much. My colleagues in the Faculty of Law, I can see all of you represented in your numbers. Professor Chiago is hiding in the somewhere. Professor Charo who seized my mental restoration. Professor Richard Professor Mori. of you, Uncle Josie, and the matriarch, my mother-in-law, Dame Margaret Zile, is here. Let us acknowledge her. I can see the Guinness Itonje. I can see every single one of you. I'm so grateful for your presence. My family members, my mother, my brother, you are all watching us. I thank you for this day. My sister Angela, Elianata, I can see you there. Elizoji, I can see your gray beard. You are sitting there. You are acknowledged. And my treasures, my very beautiful treasures, Stacy and Chantel, you make my life complete. Azu and Fred, I can see you. My husband, Professor Ozet, I will hide. I urge you to join with me to acknowledge Professor Ibinovia alias Enziza. Let us applaud him. Professor Ozed Aibo, the bone of my bone, the flesh of my flesh. My passion is the creator, my soul keeper, my ever-loving and supporting spouse, who always stands my back during the conflicts and gender vulnerability. Thanks for patiently toasting me. I love and cherish you. Conclusion of my lecture. Environmental resources are critical to poor women's productive and reproductive rights in Nigeria. Environmental resources diversify livelihoods, and I cannot go on with this conclusion without acknowledging the Imundes, Uncle P.I. and his beautiful queens. Please help me applaud my in-laws and all my friends, too numerous to individually mention. Environmental resources diversify livelihoods and are likely to and are the key to the survival strategies women adopt. Environmental conflicts have gendered impacts that need to be addressed urgently. Gender equality and women empowerment is the key to making women less vulnerable to environmental conflict victimization in Nigeria. The increasing number of the girl child in classrooms and the audacity with which women march to the National Assembly to demand for the passage of the stalled gender bills are a clear indication that gender neutrality is now a mandate and not an option. Families as primary units of socialization have to start inculcating it as the foundation and resourceful pathway to gender tolerance and conflict tolerance. It is therefore imperative that we develop gender-sensitive conceptual framework and methodologies that specifically focus on women and violence in relation to the environmental conflicts. Environmental programs aimed at assisting women have to be a timeless effort. Madam Vice Chancellor, the clock keeps ticking. Victims and the law ought to be on guard, watching the vulnerability clock, a swift and consistent balancing of action and reaction beyond conflict. It is the only way to enthrone gender and environmental justice for all of us in Nigeria. I thank you for your kind attention.
She had to be given 5 extra minutes to specially acknowledge Professor Ozed Aibo. Thank you, sir. We welcome very specially the former Vice Chancellor of our great university, the University of Benin. Please join me to welcome Professor Abulime Anao. Welcome. Invite the acting Vice Chancellor to recap the lecture, after which she will decorate the lecture. Madam Acting Vice Chancellor.
told us about the work she's been doing all these years. So, well, this is just a summary, but I really don't think this summary will tell us or explain everything. I'm sure you have clearly listened to the lecture and you have followed it. The environment as the primary driver of human sustainability has been compromised by conflicts arising from the location, exploitation, distribution and utilization of its resources in Nigeria. The resultant environmental degradation, food insecurity, socio-economic, political and cultural imbalances are exposing and widening the disparity in gender vulnerability. The lecturer is of the view that condemnation and lax enforcement of regulatory laws on gender-based violence, climate conflicts, and the environment are contributing to the feminization of green conflicts in Nigeria. The lecturer recommends responses and adaptive strategies that border on affirmative actions for effective advocacy. These actions will be effective in ensuring that women become less vulnerable during and after green conflicts. In addition to proposing a roadmap for enhanced enforcement of timeless relevant laws and policies, strategies that will promote the inclusiveness of women in environmental decision-making are advocated. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you really listen to this the lecture, and she, like I said, this is just a summary, but it doesn't really tell you everything. But listening to the lecture clearly, the lecturer has actually done her work. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. The lecturer will now be decorated. We respectfully invite her husband and children to share in this moment of glory. So please join her up stage, active vice chancellor of the great camp. May I now quickly recognize and acknowledge the presence of the following dignitaries. You will agree with me that it's a star-studded house, but I will do my best to acknowledge the list that I have here with me. The Chief Judge of Edo State, Honorable Justice J.I. Acha. Welcome you, sir. We also welcome the husband of the lecturer, Professor O.Z. Aibokaibu. We welcome also Justice Isibo, former President of the Customary Court of Appeal, Justice William Azebemi of the Edo State High Court, and his lovely wife, Mrs. Priscilla Azebemi, P.S., Office of the Head of Service. You are welcome. Justice Ivo Brimo of Edo State Judiciary, welcome. Welcome Barrister Peter Otaibe, former Commissioner, National Population Commission. We welcome you, sir. So also, we welcome Professor Imamosa Omorui, former DVC Administration and Professor of Law. We welcome Professor Richard Ndubo, former Dean of Law and two-time Director of Academic Planning, Chairman, Unimed Microfinance Bank. Welcome, you, sir. Welcome, Professor John Ogene, former DVC Ikewan Campus. Welcome, Professor Lawrence Asekwa, SAA. I'll start calling the law lecturers because you are showing partiality. So, Professor Eddie Erabe, former Dean of Students, former Dean of Arts, and immediate past Unimed Orator, we welcome you. Welcome Chief Richard Ahonarogo, SAN, welcome sir. Welcome Professor Mary Edema, former Provost, College of Education, Warri. Mr. Peter Isa Okonofwa is here with us. Mrs. Beauty Okonofwa, we welcome you. Mr. Omogwa Andrew, alumnus of AAU Ekoma, welcome. Mrs. Aye Mere Omion, welcome. Honorable Elder and Mrs. S.S. Okonofwa, Mrs. Margaret Isilen, Angela Okosu Okoye, Aibokaibu, Chantel, Aibokaibu Stacy, Professor Ozimbe Aibokaibu, O.J. Okosu, Ehemeta Okosu, Simon Edema, Mr. Imafidon Kennedy, Director Governing Council. We welcome the Chief Judge of Edo State. We have already done that. We welcome Professor Atekwa again. We welcome S. Ogaga Ifowodo. We welcome Mrs. Priscilla Azebemi. We welcome OFO Osemobo Esquire. Igodalo Imado Bueno SCN. We welcome you, sir. We welcome Professor Bright Wazwaye, Dean of Law, Paula Dicey University, Ibadan. We welcome Professor Henrietta Babu, former Dean, School of Basic Medical Sciences. We welcome all legal luminaries here present. We welcome all you special people. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, that's how we conclude the 264th inaugural lecture series. The Vice Chancellor and the entourage. I'm told to announce that there is reception by the lecturer at the Faculty of Law immediately after this exercise. So please, you're all welcome. And we now invite the entourage of the Vice Chancellor as they recess. Please stand.